thanks for coming. Today was the medical evidence. It was pretty torrid in there. The psychiatrist was examined for 4.5 hours, which I wouldn't like to have to do it. But overall, the view is that we clearly are winning in this battle against the United States, and continuing that sort of appearance, everything seems to me to be a distraction. So we have the Brown University's study, longitudinal study. There are 38 million displaced persons from 20 years of war. Craig Murray estimates that the dead would be around 4 million people in the last 20 years. These souls that cry for justice, this is a distraction, this great suffering for Julian, but a distraction for us from insisting that these war criminals be brought to justice. That's the sole thing that we must solve after we get Julian free. That these criminals that murder families, mothers, children, fathers, grandfathers, be brought to justice and stop destroying country after country after country. 7 countries in the last 20 years. Thank you.
Testimony from Professor Kobelman, a psychiatrist who has evaluated Julian Assange. I must say that it's very hard, and I want to point out that Ed Fitzgerald, the QC for Julian Assange, pointed out to the media that they would be considerate in reporting on such a delicate matter, and I intend to do the same. But we heard this morning, of course, that Julian has been diagnosed with depression. He is at a high suicide risk, especially if he is extradited to the United States. He has syndrome, Asperger's, that makes him 9 times more likely to commit suicide than other persons. So all this together should give the court the right picture. He is in no state in severe danger of causing self-harm if he is extradited. It was quite, in my opinion, appalling to listen to the lengthy cross-examination by the lawyers for the American government, trying to pick apart every small details, citing records constantly for over an hour from Belmarsh prison and the medical staff there. The medical staff who obviously have an interest in keeping the records such that the prison cannot be accused of anything if a prisoner self-harms. And we know that Julian did not have full faith and confidence in the people, the medical people in Belmarsh prison, and for obvious reasons. So that sort of sums it up. It's only lunchtime. Professor Kobelman will be cross-examined further by the QC for the Americans this afternoon, and it is quite extraordinary to hear the questions which are indicative of their willingness to try to establish that Julian Assange is simply making it up, which I think is appalling in all respect. But that was what went on this morning. Thank you.
The magistrate. guillotine the case. There was also some amusing statements from the prosecution describing the ADX jails in Colorado, where the warden had described the jails as a place worse than hell on earth. The prosecutor turned himself into a clown trying to describe them as a country club with cricket and tennis and games and all that sort of amusing stuff. So that caused a few titters in the courtroom. Generally speaking, overall, it's clearly, to me anyway, a fraud against the court. And slowly it seems to be coming that the magistrate or the judge in charge is not sympathetic to Julian's circumstances, or in fact any of the circumstances surrounding a free press, extraterritorial application of the United States laws, universal jurisdiction of the universal human rights, any of the great epoch-making universal laws that we operated under until 2001. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Bye.
Yeah, my name is Fidel Narvaez. I was the ex-consul of Ecuador in London. So I attended today the court hearings about Julian Assange extradition. And basically at the end of today, the judge has requested the defense and the prosecutors to make everything possible to finish with these court hearings by the next week. Taking into account that there are still something like 14 witnesses to be cross-examined, and then she wants to allow 1 or 2 more days for the final submissions. The defense clearly opposes to that because they think that there's not enough time to prepare those submissions. There are under a lot of pressure to fulfill with the timeline given by the judge. They complain obviously about the superseding indictment that has arrived at the last hour, and they haven't even processed that in the court. So they are requesting to delay the closing of the hearings at later date. That's not decided yet, but what is clear to me that the judge wants to have this over as soon as possible, and I think that is not making justice for Julian for the case. I think the defense needs the time requested to properly submit the final arguments.
Coincide en gran parte con el diagnóstico que se le ha dado a Julián de sufrir de depresión, de estar dentro de lo que se llama el espectro de autismo, y él considera que si una persona de esas características sería sometida al régimen presidiario de lo que se llaman las medidas especiales administrativas, Special Administrative Measures, en los Estados Unidos, en total aislamiento, básicamente sin contacto con el exterior, humanos, el riesgo de suicidio es obviamente más alto. Entonces, lo que se ha demostrado el día de hoy es de que también por las condiciones de salud, también por las condiciones que son el resultado de años de condiciones opresivas, ha llevado a un estado preocupante de depresión. No olvidemos que las Naciones Unidas han dicho que Julian Assange ha sido víctima de tortura psicológica. Lo que hemos visto hoy es la evidencia científica, médica, de que no debería ser extraditado en base a sus condiciones de salud.